Hello, women of the channel, Leadership Network. I'm Jackie Rives, your community leader, and welcome to this week's Woman of the Week. I am thrilled to introduce you to Jessica Caputo, commercial sales leader with Insight. Hi, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Jackie. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yes, I'm so excited to get to know you. This is probably one of the most fun things that I get to do. So we'll start off with the icebreakers. Where do you live and where did you grow up if that's different?
Yeah, so born and raised in Montreal. So I've been here my entire life, which is exciting. Love Montreal, but I grew up. A lot of people don't know this about me. I grew up in Montreal North, so in the east end of Montreal, and lived there for a majority of my life until I moved into Griffintown, which is closer to the old port of Montreal. So right by the canal, really, really beautiful spot. But yeah, I've been there for a couple of years now, and I love it.
I've been there once, as I shared with you, and I just remember it being so breathtaking. And it's funny because there's actually a picture from my trip in Montreal on my other wall that you can't see in here. And I just
Oh,
saw it and I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So,
that's
very
awesome.
beautiful city. All
We've probably
right.
crossed paths then. We've probably seen each other.
I'm sorry.
We've probably seen each other in Montreal then.
Yes, yes. Well, I hope to get back someday. All right. So you shared a little known fact, but I'm going to ask you for another one. What is a little known fact that you're willing to share with all of us?
I think it would have to be. So I used to be a professional hockey player. I was part of the draft for the Canadien de Montréal back in the day, which is now the PWHL. So I don't know if you're familiar with the PWHL, but it's one of the newest professional women's hockey league that just got brought back to life, which is exciting. But yeah, used to play hockey, was a goaltender for a huge, huge part of my life. So a lot of people don't know that about me, but huge hockey person. It was my entire personality back in the day growing up, just a huge hockey player. So yeah, fun fact about me.
So cool. I love that fun fact. Thank you for sharing it. All
Yeah.
right. So we are going to get into some more questions about your work experience and kind of your professional world. So what made you want to be in a leadership position?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've had a long career in sales, and I know it might seem that way, but I've been in sales for forever. Every single job that I've ever had, always been in sales, and I've come across a lot of different types of leaders. Some that were just phenomenal, and others, unfortunately, just soul crushing types of leaders. And I've seen everything from making the people that roll up to them just kind of crumble in defeat, and oftentimes it's every time I was in that situation, I always said to myself, hey, whenever I get the position or the opportunity to become a leader, that's one of the things that I'm going to focus on is I'm never going to try to make somebody feel less than, always going to have a people first mindset to bring people forward, elevate their platform a little bit. But just going through that entire experience of seeing how some leaders were going on a power trip, just bring people down, using their egos. Their ego kind of gets the best of them. And just, there's kind of a look in some of the people's eyes that I've worked with throughout the last couple of years. And it's kind of this twinkle that some people get into their eyes. And when you're a leader, you can either give them the twinkle of, wow, they feel empowered, they feel motivated, they feel ready to go and take on the day and find solutions, versus that feeling and that look that some of the people kind of give you, staring back at you from a leadership position where they're just defeated, right? And I've seen that happen time after and time after again. And I said, one day
Hmm.
I'm going to have that platform. One day I'm going to have that seat. And when I do, I'm going to make sure to never leave anybody that I get to come across feeling like they're not good enough, feeling like they can't find the answers. And I'm a huge people person, so that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to become a leader.
Jessica, I love that you kind of gathered your experiences of leaders that you've had and kind of formed that into what you would like to do and would not like to do as a leader today. That's amazing that you had that forethought and kind of put that together as you kind of figured out what kind of leader you wanted to be. What is one decision you wish that you didn't make?
So a lot of different moments in my life, and a lot of different decisions I wish I would have made differently. But if there's one that stands out, it was the decision to stay quiet. So I know this also must happen, to a lot of different people, a lot of different leaders, especially women in leadership right now, is that mute option. Especially in this remote world, it's so easy to be in a meeting that's kind of going, off the trails, it's being derailed a little bit, or you don't like the direction it's going into, and there's a lot of different people in the room with a lot of different powerful voices. And sometimes those powerful voices can kind of overtake the microphone in a lot of the different meetings. But one of the things that I wish that I've never done, and to this day it's still kind of something in the back of my mind in every meeting that I join, it's speak up. Speak up. Even when you think you cannot change the course of the conversation, is to always just speak up. It does more harm than good to stay on mute and to just say, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be able to change the outcome. I'm not going to be able to change people's mindsets on what we should do next. It's not worth participating in that meeting or in that conversation. And just having that in the back of your mind so often, so frequently, it doesn't make any sense. So, and I regret this every time, whether I'm on a customer call or I'm leading my people or I'm leading leaders or sellers, whatever conversation I'm in, every time I decide and I make that conscious decision to stay on mute or not participate or not express what I'm looking to say or need to say, I regret it. I regret it deeply because it's not me, and it's not one of the things that I want to convey as a leader, and what I want to inspire my people to do at the same time is to always feel like they can speak up. So being a leader, I really need to stay conscious about that effort and stay conscious about that mindset to just always participate, always speak up, and just speak, right? Be loud. I'm a huge, huge advocate of say what's on your mind, be loud, make some noise, ruffle some feathers, see what happens, take some chances, try that strategy, pitch that idea, whatever it is. I'm huge on that. But it all starts with just don't touch that mute button.
Yes, I actually love that. I was listening to a masterclass with Amy Poehler this morning, and this is so timely because she was saying, like, if you have something to contribute to the story or the conversation, you should definitely do that. And then, you know, on the flip side, if you're not adding to the story or the conversation, then it's okay not to say anything sometimes too. So great. Love that one decision you wish you didn't make, not putting that mute button on. Perfect. All right. So we're at about 8 minutes. So I'm going to ask you, what are some patterns you've noticed over the years about women in work and the things that they could be doing better to advance their careers?
One of the things I've noticed is, especially women in leadership, is it took a long time for some people to get a seat at the table. And I think we can all recognize that. It takes a very long time for certain rooms to allow us in, certain chairs to kind of be pulled up. But one of the things I've realized throughout the last couple of years is once we get into those rooms, once we have made it, once we've passed all these hurdles, which can be very, very difficult to do, sometimes we realize we don't necessarily realize that we still have the boxing gloves on. We're still in that fighting mode to prove to everybody that we deserve a spot there, to prove that I was given that promotion for a reason. Just always in that constant battle. And it's funny because I don't know if other people realize that when you're actually in that position, but from the outside looking in, it's something that I see very often. And it's one thing that I wish that we can create a platform around or just open communication around and just be genuine and honest and say, hey, you've made it. How do we elevate somebody else? How do we continue to use our power to help other people get into different rooms faster than before? Right? Doesn't need to take 20 years to get to where we need to be. We understand that it took a lot of people a lot of time to get into that role, but it's having the ability to elevate our fellow women. We're always constantly fighting. I hear a lot of conversations around, well, I'm always the only woman in the room. I'm constantly sitting at a table filled with other men. I constantly need to fight and push to prove to and be loud enough to be here. But sometimes we don't realize that we're also fighting against each other as women. We're fighting against other women all the time. And I see that happen from the outside looking in every other day. And I wish that we could just scream it from the rooftops and say, hey, we're in this together. We're in this together. We can take off the boxing gloves. We can help elevate other leaders, help elevate other women who are trying to do the exact same thing that you did. Teach the way and put down the blinders, put down the boxing gloves, give other people a chance and bring them in genuinely. we're going to be powerful together.
I love that, Jessica. And I couldn't agree with you more. That's, to me, one of the great things about Women the Channel is there is a focus on how do we then transfer that knowledge and help other generations up and just be honest about the paths that we've been on and how we can help share that information to further advance other women. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing a little bit about your journey and insights.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I love the women of the channel. I love the community, and it's been great.
Yes. Well, thank you for letting us celebrate you as our Woman of the Week. Community members, please give Jessica your high fives, share your insights. The conversation was never meant to stop here. So until next time, have an amazing week.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.